My younger sister always urges me to confess my feelings to the best actor, but behind my back, she secretly interacts with him. When the best actor rejects me, my sister immediately condemns me publicly. Sister, if you want him, you can just tell me. Why steal my boyfriend? I couldn't justify myself and ended up getting run over by my sister's fan. When I opened my eyes, I had returned to the very day I confessed. My sister was busy inviting many reporters to witness my humiliation. But instead, I turned around and pulled Prince Liam Cheng to Beijing. You have secretly admired me for a long time. Liam Cheng, would you like to be with me? The prince's face turned bright red, and just like that, I happily became the boss of both my sister and the best actor. I got to live again. Right at the moment before I confessed to the best actor, numerous flashlights pointed straight at me. As long as I declared my grand love, the reporters would publish defamatory articles about me. Diana Tam stood next to me, showing no expression, quietly approaching Leon Tran and intimately holding my hand. Sister, quickly announce the good news. You hide your boyfriend too well. I'm also eager to know who he is. My sister smiled, her crescent-shaped eyes filled with hidden mockery. After a few moments of shock from being reborn, I calmed down and took the microphone from Michael Carter, glancing flirtatiously at Leon Tran. Why are you in such a rush, Diana? Maybe you have a boyfriend too. If so, let's reveal him and celebrate together. As expected, the faces of these two adulterers turned pale. I silently laughed. Even at this moment, I still didn't realize everything was a trap laid by Diana Tam. In my previous life, I died tragically on the street because of her. After Diana found out I had feelings for Leon Tran, she did everything possible to get close to him. She was ignorant and reckless. After they became intimate, she encouraged me to confess in front of the media, saying that it would make Leon feel my sincerity. Behind my back, she contacted paparazzi and prepared defamatory articles to release as soon as I failed. This ruined my reputation without mercy. In my past life, I became someone condemned by the public. Just as the scandal began to settle, Diana continued to accuse me online, claiming that I knew but still acted. This stirred the emotions of her fans exactly as planned. When I was eventually killed by her fan, public opinion continued to tear me apart. Even at my funeral, everyone acted so fake that it made me nauseous. Only Liam Cheng genuinely mourned for me. It was only then that I realized how foolish I had been. Reflecting on this, my gaze darkened, and I aggressively took control, shoving the microphone into Diana's mouth as if I wanted to stuff it down her throat. I ask you, who is your boyfriend? How long have you been together? Is he here watching you now? I blurted out everything in one breath. All the reporters were stunned. The comment section on the big screen behind me scrolled rapidly. Diana Tam thinks everyone is like her. Our little Princess Diana hasn't even touched a man yet. Is Diana insane? Whoever she sets her sights on must have terrible luck for 7 lifetimes. Diana panicked, dodging my gaze. Sister, I don't have anyone. I haven't dated anyone yet. Her face twisted with discomfort, gritting her teeth and glaring at me. The carefully planned scheme fell apart entirely. Without me as a scapegoat, Leon Tran's female fans would surely tear her apart. The public reveal of her relationship with Leon had to be postponed indefinitely. I was satisfied, pulling my hand back with a smile. If not, then fine. As soon as I finished speaking, the reporters started buzzing. Diana, agitated, raised her voice. Really, sister, announce the good news. I will definitely congratulate you. A new microphone was placed in front of me. Scanning the crowd, I saw a familiar face sitting in a quiet corner. Liam Cheng, the CEO of the Duke Tin Group, was sitting upright. No one expected the prince of the Cheng family to attend the confession event of a low-tier celebrity. Liam Cheng looked at me. Our eyes met. His lips pressed into a thin line, his right hand unconsciously clenched into a fist. Remembering my previous life, I felt a little uneasy, but given the current situation, once the arrow was drawn, it had to be released. I needed to reconnect with Liam to explain everything. I steadied myself, smiled, and said, "Yes, today I'm here to confess. The man who has been by my side, helping me all this time, is someone I deeply appreciate. I want to say to him, Liam Cheng, will you be my boyfriend?" Before I could finish my sentence, Leon Tran couldn't wait any longer and jumped out immediately. "I don't want to," he blurted. Michael Carter, the host, quickly grabbed his arm, as if trying to say something but hesitated. Leon Tran, confident and oblivious, looked up arrogantly. "I don't like you. Your public confession puts me in a very difficult position. Please, let me go." I couldn't help but laugh aloud. "Leon, who asked you?" At that moment, Leon finally realized I wasn't confessing to him. His face instantly turned sour. Diana Tam's smile froze as she stared at me in disbelief. "Wait, weren't you interested in Leon Tran?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. Liam Cheng's eyes locked onto me as if he couldn't believe what he had just heard. "It's Liam Cheng, not Leon Tran," I said calmly. The venue fell into complete silence. Moments later, Liam Cheng stood up and slowly walked toward me. His eyes were filled with complex emotions, yet he didn't smile. However, I could sense his joy. My lips couldn't help but curl up slightly. The comment section on the screen behind us exploded. "Who is he? A model? Oh my God, I need all his information now. Being handsome is pointless. He's probably useless compared to Leon Tran. Leon Tran is about to win the Best Actor award. He's prestigious. How can a small-time celebrity and an unknown man compare to him?" Some fans began defending Leon Tran, speculating that I was making up a random person to avoid embarrassment. Others simply enjoyed the drama. However, the attention was entirely focused on Liam Cheng as he made his way to me. He gently grabbed my wrist, firmly, but without hurting me. When our eyes met, I felt like he was holding the most precious thing in the world. Slowly, he raised my hand to his lips and whispered, "Yes." That one word was enough to end this entire spectacle. Diana Tam hadn't recognized Liam Cheng and was still clueless about his identity. She sarcastically said, "Sister, just because Leon Tran doesn't like you doesn't mean you should settle for some random guy. You shouldn't lower yourself like that." Diana feigned innocence, pretending to care about me. Her fans echoed her sentiments, painting her as a compassionate and kind-hearted woman. I smiled at Liam Cheng, his eyes sparkling under the stage lights. I couldn't help but hold his hand tightly. I turned to Diana Tam and said, "Diana, you don't need to worry. Even if we have to eat wild herbs together, it's still better than being with someone who doesn't claim you publicly, right?" Diana's face darkened, and she nervously glanced at Leon Tran for support. However, Leon Tran wasn't the type to stand up for anyone, especially not after I had embarrassed him in front of so many people. Still, his pride was hurt. "Tina, you've gone too far. Do you think everyone is as manipulative as you are?" Leon snapped, glaring at me. Before I could respond, Liam Cheng spoke up, his voice calm yet commanding. "Leon Tran, right? I'll remember that." The comment section exploded again. "Wow, who is this guy? So confident. Did anyone find out who he is?" I looked him up. His name is Liam Cheng, but there's barely anything about him. He seems to be registered under a few small companies. The comments continued to pour in. However, as the spotlight shifted back to Leon Tran, his phone rang. His face instantly paled as he took the call under the stage lights. Nobody noticed his reaction, except for me. The reporters had already gotten their headline for the day and began to disperse. Diana Tam, unwilling to let things go, tried to approach me, but I acted as if I didn't see her. I clung to Liam Cheng's arm and walked out of the venue. Outside, the night air was cold, sobering me up. I gently pulled my hand away from Liam's and apologized. "I'm sorry for the suddenness of it all today. I couldn't think of a better way. I'll clarify everything online later." Recalling how he had cried for me in our past life, I felt courage surge within me. Since he had helped me through hard times, I was determined to repay him. But what if Liam already liked someone else? What if he only cried for me out of childhood friendship? Liam's eyes darkened. He said nothing, but his grip on my hand tightened. As I tried to pull away, our fingers brushed. My heart raced uncontrollably. Tina, are you planning to run away after using me? Liam whispered, his warm breath brushing against my ear. I felt my face flush and quickly stepped back, grateful for the phone call that interrupted the intimate moment. The call was from Jessica Song, my manager. Tina, you really know how to stir things up. You didn't even warn me beforehand. Now the whole internet is buzzing. Leon Tran might not be a great guy, but you can't just randomly pull a nobody onto the stage like that. He has no money, no power, and no way to protect you. Her words made me pause. Usually I wouldn't care about external criticism, but hearing her mention Liam Cheng unsettled me. How could she say Liam had no money or power? Liam stood by the railing, casually adjusting his hair, as if the call didn't concern him. He clearly heard everything Jessica said, but merely smiled faintly. As long as I'm here, you won't be at a disadvantage, he reassured me. I hung up, feeling the heat rise in my ears. Thank you, but I can handle this myself, I replied softly. Tina, after all these years, you still try to handle everything alone. But I'm glad you turned to me today, Liam said, his voice filled with warmth. I couldn't help but recall the times we spent together at the orphanage. Even after all these years, Liam was still the same person, reliable, steadfast, and caring. Hearing Liam Cheng's words, I was pulled back to memories of our childhood at the orphanage. I had been kidnapped and taken across the country, passed from family to family, and eventually left at the orphanage where I met Liam. From the moment I saw him, I knew he wasn't ordinary. There was an air of elegance about him, even as a child. But no matter how much I tried to ask about his family, he always kept quiet. Over time, I grew closer to him, and he gradually opened up. Not long after, his whereabouts were discovered, and he was taken home by his family. I still remembered the day he left. He held my hand and solemnly promised, Tina, when I grow up, I'll marry you. Later, my family found me, and we lost contact. My parents regretted not protecting me better and tried to make up for it. But that only made Diana Tam resent me more. She believed I had stolen our parents' love from her, turning her into my enemy. Thinking about it made me smile bitterly. How was your life after returning to the Chung family? Why did you hide everything so carefully? I asked Liam. He leaned casually against the railing, his gaze calm and distant. I knew I had to be cautious, not just for myself, but for the right time. And besides, you're the only one who knows the real me. I've always been willing to show my true self to you. His words struck a chord deep within me. I had been so blind in my past life, chasing the wrong person while ignoring someone who had always been by my side. Let's give it a try, Liam suddenly said, stepping closer. I've thought about you every day for years. Why don't we try being together? I froze. Although I had sensed his feelings, hearing it out loud still surprised me. Are you serious? You've been helping me just for this? Liam's lips curved into a soft smile. I've never been the type to do things without reason. If I help you, there's always something I want in return. I felt my heart race. So you're saying I owe you now? Liam nodded. Yes, and the only way to repay me is by staying with me. I couldn't help but laugh. You're really straightforward. Before he could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time, Jessica Song's tone was more urgent. Tina, the rumors are spreading like wildfire. People are speculating that the man you confess to is just some random guy. Anti-fans are attacking you. What should we do? I sighed. Jessica, don't worry. I'll handle it. After ending the call, I looked up at Liam. It seems the internet doesn't believe in us. He chuckled. Then let's make them believe. The next morning, I went to work as usual. As I stepped into the office, all three company owners were already waiting for me. Tina, you've outdone yourself this time. I knew you'd succeed, one of them said with a grin. The second one whispered conspiratorially, who is your boyfriend? Is he from some wealthy family? Just from his aura, I could tell he's not ordinary. Maybe he can invest in the company. The third one couldn't contain his curiosity. Come on, introduce him to us. We could use someone like that around here. I raised my hands in surrender. Calm down, he's just an ordinary guy. The three of them exchanged glances. Ordinary? That man didn't look ordinary at all, one said skeptically. Trust me, I insisted. He's not some secret billionaire. They nodded reluctantly, but didn't seem convinced. Fine, we'll believe you. For now. Later that afternoon, Liam called me. Tina, have you been working all day? Don't overdo it. What if your boss fires you? I laughed. If that happens, I guess I'll have to rely on you to feed me. Liam responded without hesitation. I could always buy your company for you. I nearly choked on my coffee. Don't joke about that. I don't need them thinking you're actually some tycoon. After ending the call, I could feel the eyes of my colleagues burning into me. I grabbed my bag and rushed out of the office, embarrassed by their knowing looks. Liam was waiting outside in a sleek Mercedes. I slipped into the passenger seat, shaking my head. You're really making it obvious. He just smiled, driving toward the headquarters of Lightsea Jewelry, a top luxury brand. Let's go check out the shoot. I want to see how things are progressing. I nodded. Sure, but don't interfere too much. When we arrived, the staff greeted us warmly. The manager led me to the set while Liam stayed behind. Don't worry, I'll be right here if you need anything, he said. As I inspected the set, I felt Diana Tam's presence behind me. I turned to see her standing in the elevator with a smug look on her face. Tina, what are you doing here? This is no place for you. I raised an eyebrow. I was invited. What about you? Diana laughed mockingly. Oh please, I'm the special guest here. You don't belong. I ignored her and continued toward the set. Diana's taunts no longer affected me like they once did. She would learn soon enough that her arrogance wouldn't get her far. Diana Tam trailed behind me, clearly unwilling to let the matter rest. Tina, you've always been so proud. It must feel terrible to see me shining while you're left behind. She sneered. I kept walking, unfazed by her words. If shining means standing in someone else's shadow, I think I'll pass, I replied calmly. Diana's smile faltered for a brief moment, but she quickly regained her composure. You really think you're better than me, don't you? Diana stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Let me tell you something. Leon Tran and I will be the hottest couple in the entertainment industry. You? You're just an obstacle in our way. I met her gaze with a small smile. I'm not interested in Leon Tran, Diana. I never was. But if you think you can step on me to climb higher, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Diana's eyes narrowed. We'll see about that. Before I could respond, Liam Cheng appeared at the entrance of the set. His presence alone was enough to draw everyone's attention. The staff whispered amongst themselves, clearly intrigued by the tall, handsome man standing so confidently by the door. Diana noticed him too, and for the first time a flicker of doubt crossed her face. Who's that? She asked, trying to sound disinterested. I smiled. That's Liam Cheng. You might want to remember his name. Her eyes widened slightly before she quickly masked her reaction. Never heard of him, she said dismissively, but I could see the uncertainty in her expression. Liam walked over, his eyes focused solely on me. Ready to leave? He asked, his tone gentle yet firm. I nodded. Yes, let's go. Diana watched as Liam placed his hand on my back, guiding me towards the exit. She remained rooted to the spot, silently fuming. As we stepped outside, Liam chuckled. You enjoy teasing her, don't you? I grinned. She makes it too easy. Liam opened the car door for me, and as I settled into the passenger seat, I could feel the weight of his gaze. You shouldn't let her get to you, he said softly. She's not worth your time, I sighed. I know, but sometimes I can't help myself. He nodded in understanding, starting the car. Well, if she tries anything else, let me know, I'll handle it. I glanced at him. You're really taking this protective boyfriend role seriously, aren't you? Liam smiled. Someone has to. As we drove away, my phone buzzed with a message from Jessica Song. Tina, we've just received an offer from Lightsea Jewelry. They want you to be the face of their new campaign. I blinked in surprise. That's unexpected. Liam's eyes flicked over to me. Unexpected. I may have had something to do with that. I stared at him. Liam, you didn't. He simply smiled. Consider it a reward for putting up with Diana today. I couldn't help but laugh. You really don't play fair, do you? He shrugged. I prefer to think of it as leveling the playing field. The next day, I arrived at the Lightsea Jewelry shoot. The atmosphere was buzzing with excitement, and as I stepped onto the set, I noticed Diana Tam lingering nearby. She was talking to one of the assistants, but her eyes flicked over to me every few seconds. Ignoring her, I focused on the shoot. The photographer positioned me under the bright lights, and as the camera flashed, I felt a surge of confidence. This was my moment, and nothing Diana did could take it away from me. During the break, Diana approached me, her expression sour. "Enjoying yourself, Tina?" she asked, crossing her arms. I met her gaze. "I am, actually. It's nice to work with professionals." Diana scoffed. "Don't get too comfortable. This industry changes in the blink of an eye." I smiled. "I'll keep that in mind." As the shoot wrapped up, Liam arrived to pick me up. Diana's eyes followed us as we left, but she said nothing. I could feel her frustration from across the room, and it only fueled my determination to succeed. Later that evening, Liam and I sat in his car, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. "You did great today," he said softly. I leaned back in my seat, feeling a sense of calm wash over me. "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you." He reached over, gently taking my hand in his. "You've always had it in you, Tina. I'm just here to remind you of that." I smiled, squeezing his hand. "I guess I'm lucky to have you." Liam's eyes softened. "I'm the lucky one." As we drove off into the night, I knew that no matter what Diana or anyone else tried, I wouldn't be facing it alone. Liam Cheng was by my side, and together we could handle anything. The next morning, I arrived at the office early, determined to stay ahead of any rumors Diana Tam might try to spread. As I walked in, I could hear murmurs among my colleagues, but their smiles were friendlier than usual. Jessica Song greeted me with a wide grin. "Tina, did you see the online buzz? Lightsea Jewelry's campaign teaser featuring you is trending. The engagement is off the charts." I blinked in surprise. "Already? The shoot just wrapped yesterday." Jessica nodded enthusiastically. "They released a sneak peek this morning. People love it. You're glowing in every frame." I couldn't help but smile. "That's great news." Before Jessica could continue, one of the senior partners approached, clapping his hands together. "Tina, we need to talk. The board wants to discuss expanding your role with Lightsea Jewelry." I raised an eyebrow. "Expanding my role? I thought it was just one campaign." The partner laughed. "It was, but after seeing the public's reaction, they want you for more. We're talking about a potential long-term contract." Jessica gave me an approving nod. "See, I told you this was your moment." I followed the senior partner into the conference room, where the other board members were already waiting. As I took a seat, I noticed Liam Cheng sitting quietly at the far end of the table. His presence caught me off guard, but he met my gaze with a small, reassuring smile. The meeting began, and the executives presented data on the campaign's early success. "We believe having Tina as the face of Lightsea Jewelry for the next year will significantly boost our brand's image," one of the marketing heads explained. I listened carefully, occasionally glancing at Liam, who remained silent throughout most of the meeting. When the discussion shifted to contract negotiations, Liam finally spoke up. "I believe this partnership will benefit both parties. However, Tina's schedule must also be considered carefully." The executives nodded in agreement, and I realized Liam was subtly ensuring I wouldn't be overworked. His quiet support didn't go unnoticed by me. After the meeting, Liam waited for me outside the boardroom. "You didn't tell me you'd be attending," I said, falling in step beside him. "I wanted to make sure everything went smoothly," he replied, with a slight shrug. Besides, I have a vested interest in your success, I smiled. Well, thank you for looking out for me. As we walked through the office, Diana Tam's voice echoed from down the hall. She was talking to one of the junior staff members, her tone sharp and impatient. The moment she spotted Liam and me, her expression twisted into a scowl. Sister, I see you're still enjoying the spotlight, Diana said, approaching us with a forced smile. I held Liam's arm a little tighter. It's not about the spotlight, Diana. It's about doing my job well. Diana's gaze shifted to Liam. And what about you, Mr. Cheng? I don't recall seeing your name on any official documents here. Liam smiled politely. That's because I prefer to keep a low profile. Diana's eyes narrowed. Low profile, huh? I find that hard to believe. I could sense Diana's frustration mounting, but Liam remained calm and composed. I support Tina because I believe in her talent. If you have a problem with that, perhaps you should focus more on your own career. Diana's face flushed, but she bit her tongue, clearly unwilling to escalate the situation further. As Liam and I left the office, I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. You didn't have to say anything, you know. He glanced at me, his eyes warm. I know, but I wanted to. Later that day, Jessica called me with more good news. Tina, we just got word from the producers of a major variety show. They want you as a guest next week. I hesitated. Is this connected to the Lightsea campaign? Jessica paused. Not directly, but your rising popularity definitely played a part. What do you think? I considered it for a moment before nodding. Let's do it. The following week, I found myself on the set of the variety show, seated next to other celebrities. The host, Michael Carter, greeted me warmly. Tina, it's great to have you here. How are things going with Lightsea Jewelry? I smiled. It's been an incredible experience. I'm grateful for the opportunity. As the show continued, the topic shifted unexpectedly to relationships. Michael glanced at me with a mischievous twinkle in his eye. Rumor has it you're seeing someone. Care to comment? I felt my cheeks heat up slightly. I guess you could say I'm in a happy place. The audience erupted in cheers, and I caught sight of Liam watching from the wings, his expression unreadable, but his eyes filled with warmth. After the show, Liam met me backstage. You handled that well, he said, taking my hand as we walked toward the exit. I laughed softly. I wasn't expecting that question, but I guess it was inevitable. Liam's grip tightened gently. I'm glad you didn't deny it. I looked up at him, realizing how much his quiet presence had come to mean to me. Why would I? He smiled. Good. As we stepped outside, a light drizzle began to fall. Liam pulled me closer, shielding me from the rain. In that moment, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together. The days following the variety show appearance were a whirlwind. My phone was constantly buzzing with messages and calls. Some were from old friends, congratulating me, others from producers and brands eager to collaborate. Jessica Song met me at a cafe one afternoon. Her face lit up with excitement. Tina, I think this is it. You've officially entered the A-list spotlight. Everyone's talking about you. I stirred my coffee, smiling faintly. I'm glad things are going well. But you know how quickly the industry shifts. Jessica leaned forward, lowering her voice. I don't think this will fade anytime soon. Lightsea Jewelry's campaign skyrocketed their sales by almost 30% in the first week. That's unheard of. I raised my eyebrows. I didn't realize it had that much of an impact. Jessica nodded enthusiastically. And guess what? They want to renew your contract for another year. You're practically their golden goose. I chuckled softly. I'll consider it. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before Jessica could respond, her gaze shifted past me, and she suddenly straightened up. Oh, here comes Liam Cheng. I turned to see Liam approaching, effortlessly drawing attention, even in a casual jacket. He greeted Jessica with a polite nod before sitting across from me. I hope I'm not interrupting, he said smoothly. Not at all, Jessica replied quickly, standing up. I'll leave you two to talk. As she left, Liam's eyes settled on me. I saw the variety show clip. You handled it well. I smiled, sipping my coffee. I didn't really have a choice. Liam leaned back in his chair, observing me thoughtfully. You're handling all of this better than I expected. I tilted my head. Did you think I wouldn't? He shook his head. Number. But the industry hasn't been kind to you in the past. I wasn't sure how you'd adapt to the sudden attention. I placed my cup down, looking at him seriously. It's different this time. I feel like I have more control over my career now. And I have you. His expression softened slightly, and he reached out to take my hand across the table. You've always had the strength, Tina. I'm just here to remind you of it. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment before Liam's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, his expression darkening slightly. What is it? I asked, sensing the shift in his mood. He hesitated for a second. It's about Diana Tam. I frowned. What did she do now? Liam exhaled, rubbing his thumb along the edge of his phone. She's been reaching out to people behind the scenes, trying to stir things up again. I rolled my eyes. Of course, she is. I'm not surprised. Liam's gaze met mine, firm and unwavering. I'll take care of it. Don't worry about her. I nodded. I trust you. Later that evening, as I scrolled through social media, I noticed a new post from Diana. She had uploaded a carefully curated photo of herself with Leon Tran, captioning it with something vague about true connections. The comments were filled with speculation and thinly veiled digs at me. I resisted the urge to engage. Instead, I let out a sigh and put my phone aside. The next morning, Liam and I attended a gala hosted by Lightsea Jewelry. As we entered, cameras flashed, capturing every detail. Liam's presence at my side didn't go unnoticed, and whispers filled the room. Diana Tam was there too, draped in an elegant gown that seemed designed to attract attention. She approached us with Leon Tran in tow. "Sister, you look lovely tonight," Diana said, her voice sugary sweet. I smiled politely. "Thank you, Diana. You too." Leon shifted uncomfortably next to her, clearly aware of the tension. "Tina, it's been a while." Liam's hand rested gently on my lower back. "Leon," he greeted calmly. Leon's eyes flicked between us, as if trying to gauge the dynamic. Diana, however, wasn't so subtle. "I heard Lightsea is extending their contract with you," she said. "Congratulations. I suppose having the right connections really pays off." I met her gaze steadily. "It's not about connections, Diana. It's about results." Diana's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, but she quickly recovered. "Of course, results." Liam spoke up, his tone even but pointed. "Lightsea values professionalism and hard work. Tina embodies both." Diana's expression tightened, but she said nothing more. As she and Leon drifted away, Liam leaned in closer. "I almost feel bad for them." I laughed softly. "Don't. They brought this on themselves." As the gala continued, I felt more at ease with Liam by my side. Every glance, every small touch, reassured me that I wasn't facing any of this alone. When the night ended, Liam escorted me to the car. Before I stepped inside, he gently held my wrist, pulling me toward him. "You know, I meant what I said earlier," he murmured. I tilted my head. "About what?" His gaze softened. "About being here for you, no matter what happens." I smiled, my heart swelling with warmth. "I know, and I appreciate it more than I can say." Liam leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead. "Let's go home." As we drove away from the glittering lights of the gala, I realized how far I'd come, not just in my career, but in life. And with Liam by my side, I knew the future held even greater possibilities. The next day, I woke up to a flood of messages on my phone. Most were from well-wishers and industry peers praising the Lightsea Jewelry Gala and congratulating me on the contract extension. A few, however, were less friendly, clearly influenced by Diana Tam's attempts to stir the pot. Jessica Song called early, her voice laced with concern. "Tina, Diana's team is pushing some rumors about you online. They're trying to spin the narrative that you only got the Lightsea deal because of Liam Cheng's connections." I sighed, rubbing my temples. "Of course, she is. What's the general reaction?" Jessica hesitated. Most people aren't buying it, but you know how this industry is. A few are starting to question things. I thought for a moment. Let's not respond directly. Liam's involvement in Light Sea was minimal. The campaign's success speaks for itself. Jessica agreed. You're right, I'll monitor it for now. But if things escalate, we might need to address it publicly. After ending the call, I felt a twinge of annoyance. Diana never seemed to know when to stop. Later that afternoon, I met Liam at a quiet cafe. He had already heard the rumors. Jessica filled me in, he said calmly, sipping his tea. Are you worried? I shook my head. Not really. This isn't the first time Diana has tried to undermine me. Liam set his cup down and leaned forward. If it becomes a problem, I can have my team handle it. I smiled. I appreciate that, but I'd rather deal with it myself. His eyes softened. I know you can handle it, but remember, you don't have to do everything alone. I reached across the table, briefly squeezing his hand. Thank you, Liam. I'll keep that in mind. As we left the cafe, paparazzi lurked outside, snapping photos. The moment we stepped out, Liam instinctively placed his arm around my shoulders, guiding me to the car. Later that evening, as I scrolled through social media, I noticed some of the photos had already surfaced online. Most comments were positive, praising our appearance together. However, a few were clearly orchestrated by Diana's team, suggesting I was using Liam for personal gain. I exhaled slowly, resisting the urge to respond. Liam, sitting beside me on the couch, noticed my frustration. What is it? He asked. I handed him my phone, showing him the comments. He skimmed through them, his expression unreadable. After a moment, he placed the phone down and met my gaze. Tina, do you trust me? I blinked, slightly caught off guard. Of course, I do. Why? He leaned back, arms crossed. Then let me handle this. Diana's games won't last long if I step in. I hesitated. I don't want to escalate things further. Liam's eyes softened. Sometimes, the best way to stop someone is to remind them of the consequences. I thought for a moment before nodding. All right. But keep it subtle. A few days later, Diana's attempts to smear me seemed to vanish overnight. Rumors about her own questionable collaborations began circulating instead. Jessica called me, bewildered. Tina, did you do something? Diana's name is all over the news, but not in the way she hoped. I glanced at Liam, who was casually reading a book on the couch. Let's just say some things have a way of working themselves out, I replied, smiling softly. Jessica laughed. Remind me never to get on Liam Cheng's bad side. As the rumors faded, my focus shifted back to work. Light Sea Jewelry invited me for another promotional shoot, and this time, Liam accompanied me to the set. His quiet support gave me an extra boost of confidence, and the shoot went flawlessly. After the session, the photographer approached Liam. Mr. Cheng, would you mind stepping in for a few shots with Tina? I think it could really enhance the campaign's appeal. Liam glanced at me, raising an eyebrow. What do you think? I laughed. I think it could be fun. He nodded and joined me under the studio lights. As the photographer directed us, Liam's natural ease in front of the camera became apparent. We posed together, his hand resting lightly on my waist. Despite the professional setting, the intimacy between us felt genuine. When the shoot ended, the photographer grinned. These are fantastic. The chemistry between you two really shines through. I smiled, glancing at Liam. That's because it's real. As we left the studio, Liam slipped his hand into mine. You were amazing today, he whispered. I leaned into him, feeling grateful for his presence in my life. So were you. As we walked to the car, I realized that for the first time in a long while, I felt truly at peace. No matter what obstacles Diana or anyone else tried to place in my path, I knew I had someone I could count on. And with Liam by my side, I was ready for whatever came next. The following week, Light Sea Jewelry unveiled the promotional photos featuring Liam Cheng and me. The response was overwhelming. Fans and fashion enthusiasts alike praised the chemistry captured in the images, and the campaign quickly became one of the brand's most talked about projects. Jessica's song called me in a frenzy. Tina, the campaign is everywhere. Light Sea Jewelry's website crashed this morning from the traffic. I laughed. I guess people really liked the photos. Jessica sighed dramatically. Liked? They're obsessed. The media is calling you two the power couple of the year. I glanced over at Liam, who was reading through some documents in the living room. I think Liam's just happy the shoot's over. Jessica chuckled. Well, get used to it. People love a good romance story. And with Diana finally quieting down, things are looking up. Hearing Diana's name made me pause. She hasn't said anything lately, has she? Jessica hesitated. Not since those stories about her questionable collaborations started surfacing. Honestly, I think she's lying low. I nodded. Good. Let's hope it stays that way. That evening, Liam and I attended a private celebration, hosted by Light Sea Jewelry. The event was more intimate than the previous gala, attended by executives and close partners. As we mingled, the CEO of Light Sea approached us, raising his glass. Tina, Liam, congratulations. The campaign exceeded all expectations. We couldn't have asked for better representatives. Liam smiled politely. Thank you. It was Tina who made it a success. I laughed lightly. It was a joint effort. The CEO nodded approvingly. We'd love to discuss extending the collaboration beyond next year. You're both a perfect fit for our brand. Liam glanced at me, allowing me to answer first. I'd be honored, I replied. Let's continue the conversation. After the event, Liam and I stepped out onto the balcony overlooking the city. The night air was cool, and the distant hum of traffic filled the silence. Tonight went well, Liam said, his arm brushing against mine, as he leaned against the railing. I nodded, gazing at the skyline. It did. I feel like things are finally falling into place. He turned to face me fully. That's because you've worked hard for it. I smiled, resting my head against his shoulder. I couldn't have done it without you. Liam wrapped his arm around me, his touch warm and reassuring. I'm not going anywhere, Tina, no matter what happens. I believed him. A few days later, news broke that Diana Tam had officially withdrawn from several upcoming projects. Rumors suggested she was facing contract terminations, though no formal statements were made. Jessica texted me the headline, followed by a single emoji. Eyes. I stared at the message for a long moment, feeling a strange sense of closure. Despite everything, I didn't feel victorious or smug. I felt relieved. Liam noticed my expression and leaned over. What is it? I showed him the article. Diana's stepping back. He read it silently, then met my gaze. You expected this, didn't you? I nodded. I knew it was only a matter of time. She kept pushing boundaries until there was no one left to protect her. Liam placed his hand over mine. You handled it with grace. Not many people could have done that. I exhaled slowly. I guess I just don't have the energy to hold grudges anymore. His eyes softened. That's one of the things I admire about you. As we sat there, I realized that my life had shifted dramatically over the past few months. I had faced challenges, but I had also found love, success, and peace. Liam lifted my hand to his lips, pressing a soft kiss against my knuckles. No matter what the future holds, we'll face it together. I smiled, feeling the weight of those words sink in. Together. And for the first time in a long while, I believed it wholeheartedly.